Melanie Madigage is a 27-year-old woman from Pretoria. I am a public relations, or you could say a communications practitioner.
Mm,
And I am a woman who's full of love, a woman that is full of joy,
mm.
warmth, and so much enthusiasm. So this is Melanie for you.
Wow. And I mentioned when I was talking about you before that you are a PR and communication specialist. And not only that, but you're the founder of Engage to Evolve and also a founding member of Let's Talk Millennials. And amongst many other things that you do. So I am very fascinated, about the work that you do. Just for me, I think it's also important just to see a young woman in that industry, so focused, because what we were discussing earlier is that it's a very noisy industry, and most of the time we hear that that is a very saturated industry. The market there is very tight because there's companies that have been in that space for a very long time. So for me, what's interesting to find out from you, Melanie, is how did you start, man? How did you start?
Wow. Okay. So I initially wanted to study psychology before I left high school. That was like my main big plan because I have so much empathy and so much love for people, and I enjoy talking to people. And then when I got to matric and I passed matric, unfortunately my marks weren't that great, and I studied at varsity college. And by the time I got to varsity college, as I say that my marks were not great, so I opted to study public relations because then I would have greater influence to still connect with people, to still communicate and have, various types of interactions with people from different backgrounds. So with I started off, an online blog called Engage to Evolve, and I want people to engage within the blog and to evolve through the information that I was giving. And I understand that many people would ask, why would you start, a website within your first year? And I had one major plan that, what, in order for me to really be successful in the industry of communications and media, I needed to start with the practicality from my first year, and I did so. So basically I would have the opportunity to attend various events around Gauteng, and I said to myself, I would really want to impact young people, especially young people who do not have the accessibility of internet, the accessibility of transportation, and attending these events that we people, young people who are based in Gauteng. So I was like, this is a blog that I would like to dedicate to young boys and girls who have a passion of making it big somewhere in Gauteng or in South Africa or within the world. And I would literally spend my time attending various events, interviewing people who are influential, who are entrepreneurs, and very successful young career-driven people. And, sometimes you get a young boy or a young girl who's from the village, who is from a rural area, and they don't have enough information that they are influenced in terms of making good career choices for themselves. So this was a good and healthy platform that I started in the year 2016. Yes, I was young, but I was very determined, and look at where I started and where I am actually, to be correct. So I was very patient. I didn't have anyone who would support me. I'm not saying that I needed support at that time, but being black and being young, sometimes it can be heart-wrenching not having the emotional support that one needs. So I needed to be resilient, and I remained resilient over the years up until now. So with that said, I had made a very, very tough decision earlier this year that I needed to close off Engage to Evolve because there's exciting things that are quite lined up for me. So with that information, it will be going into a book that I'm writing.
Yeah. Oh,
So yeah.
wow. Wow. That's amazing. Well, you've touched on so many things already. And, I also just love to pick up as you explain that, this was you starting out was not like profit, it was not profit based, but it rather was coming from a place that you actually were thinking of how you can help young people. And I feel like we lack this a lot in the time that we live in, like we because young people even that are coming up are so profit driven that sometimes we even forsake purpose for that. And it's so beautiful to see you and to just to watch. I'd also just want to touch on something else, that as much as you had your start, but like I think what I'd like to talk about next is how you then positioned yourself in the market. Because sometimes Melanie, we know what we want to do, we know the direction that we want to take, we know the industry that we want to penetrate, but when it comes to the business know-how of how to actually position ourselves in that market, and I feel like Engage to Evolve was probably a step in that direction for you. But like, how did you translate that realization of what you want to do into the practicality and the business know-how?
So, prior to studying Engage to Evolve, I started volunteering while I was in high school, and I was very fortunate to have a very special mentor by the name of Sue Levy, who is based in Cape Town and who is from Cape Town, and her husband Aslam Levy, who works in the communication space, and they were the two people who nurtured me. And I said, I'm really interested to go into the communication field, because right now, or back then when I was still in high school, I knew that technology would somehow play a pivotal role in the world that we live in now, that we're in the middle of a pandemic. So with that said, I would like to say great thanks to Sue Levy and her husband Aslam Levy for nurturing the importance of the woman that I am today. Not forgetting my late father, Mr. Thomas Madigage, and my mother, Wilhelmina Mukondo. So with that being said, but the positioning was that I needed to build a healthy self-esteem for myself, number one, led to a healthy self-confidence, because in the media, in the industry of media and communication, those are the most two important things that leads you to become the man or the woman that you need in this industry. Because without self-confidence or healthy self-esteem, one wouldn't have the ability to handle criticism. And I had developed a very thick skin. And with that being said, like I said, I had volunteered since I was in high school. So I developed a very good stamina in terms of my work ethic. And with that being said, I managed to work at a small financial business in 4 ways. I worked there for like a couple of months, and then after that I entered Miss Earth, and then therefore my self-confidence grew, and I didn't give up on myself. Hey, like no matter the low blows that I encountered, I had encountered so many low blows in my life, but the mere fact that I needed to be strong for myself, let alone not having enough moral support, but I was so determined to rise beyond the negativity, beyond the heartache that I was going through. So after that, after the Miss Earth program, I got into an international project. So this international project I was involved in with my former client, who is Nompumelelo Nopiba. She went to the Oprah Winfrey School, and she picked up on the Engaged to an international project. So from there, I had another opportunity to work at a small tourism company where it was just women. So you can tell that I'm the type of person that doesn't necessarily give up on myself and necessarily give up on my clients, because I really care about my clients' needs. I really care, and I really get at how much as young people want to make it in life, but it takes so much empathy and so much care and understanding of what needs to be, you know, done in this
Yeah.
industry.
Wow, man. Thank you so much, for that, because, you've touched on so many important things. And,
Mm.
as we're going to take a musical break now, and when we come back, I want us to continue the conversation. But like, I love that, you touch on the importance of mentorship, and, also how also that played a role in you cementing yourself, in an industry that you're starting out in. Just for me, I feel like that alone is important, because it's something that I feel also as young people we also lack. But not only that, but you actually, speak even about, the importance of being confident and continuously believing in yourself. And when we come back, man, I want us to continue the conversation. So stay on the line, Mels. Thank you so much for staying tuned and for staying on the line. As I was saying, like right before, that you mentioned so many important things, right? And I do also want just to get into a little bit, of some of the experience and the campaigns that you've worked with, because I know
Mm-hmm.
that you've worked with a lot of reputable brands already. And you also speak about the passion that you have for your clients. The pressure, Melanie, sometimes of being a service provider is most of the
Yeah.
time delivery. And
Yes.
with the kind of space that you in, there's always the pressure of actually delivering on actually that promise, Yogbana. This is what I do
Mm.
and this is what I can do for you.
Mm.
But we understand
Mm.
that most of the time, it's a matter of your communication base. And sometimes it's also, even about your social capital, as an individual.
Yes.
So how
Yes.
do you make sure that you continue to be consistent in your delivery?
Wow, that's a very important and valid question that you're asking, because many of public relations and communications graduates or individuals who
Mm,
are starting out need to understand that this industry is very vicious.
mm,
It's vicious because everyone wants a bite or a piece, not even a piece of cake, but the
mm,
entire cake, because there's good money out there and you're
mm,
working with reputable brands.
mm,
So I will give you an example with the international projects that I worked on.
mhm,
So the international project was a good solid project,
mm,
and I was not even looking forward to get paid, number one.
mhm,
So, but because the lady picked me to be a strategic leader, I
mm.
had to leave home and be with my client for a month and a half. So I'm away
Wow.
from my family for
Mm,
a month and a half, and I'm based in Johannesburg, Sandton, and
mm,
I have to understand her emotional well-being and just be there. Number one,
mm,
having to understand your emotional well-being of your client. Number two, understand the front and back end of the entire project.
mm,
That's number two. Then you have to look at the budget, and at
mm,
that time we had a very good tight budget, but it was like, okay, we have a good budget, but we were overspending. There were
mm,
times where we would wake up in the morning, go for a breakfast meeting. From breakfast meeting, you go straight into an interview, and then from an interview, you've got another meeting in
mm.
the afternoon, and then you realize that it's in the evening, and then you've got a dinner
Hmm.
meeting as well. So by the time you would get back to our residence, would be around about 10, 11 p.m. in the evening. So
Mm-hmm.
you understand that, what, sometimes being a public relations or communication
Hmm.
specialist, it's
It's
not
about
glitz and glam at
sacrificing
the
your
end.
time
It's
also.
not. It's not. It takes so much of your time. It takes so
Hmm.
much of your well-being
Hmm.
and your mental capacity, because you're so pruned in being this support
Hmm.
system towards your client.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I must say that sometimes it's really draining, but it is worth it, because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we are so driven by money, and we're
Hmm.
not really focusing on delivering the quality service that needs to be impacted. And at that time, the project needed so much backing up at that time. So I had to make plans in terms of knowing who I know, in terms of artists, in terms of media, in terms of attending different events with different stakeholders. So I was learning at that time, and like being a bigger pool in the international industry, it's, but I trusted myself, and it was worth it at the end of the day. So, and I got paid in international currency, and yeah, that was another stepping stone for me.
That is something that is amazing. Even just for your company now, it has an international footprint. And that is something that sometimes takes people years to even accomplish. So congratulations, just on that and your journey as well. But I also do understand, Mels, that you probably being in it for some time now, you probably have seen and have noticed some of the mistakes that other young professionals are making, when they're starting out. And what are some of those that you have found, and what do you think that young professionals can do to avoid them?
Well, okay, number one is, patience. One requires a lot of patience. Two, you have a thick skin, because you're going to meet people who are much older than you and who have greater extensive experience than you, and you might feel like sometimes you're not being heard, sometimes you're being bullied. Yes, you're going to get bullied. I've been bullied like a whole lot of times. I've cried too. And it's okay to cry, it's okay to be upset, but you need to pull yourself together and tell yourself that, I'm doing it for the sake of trying to be a good, relevant communication specialist. And number four, wow, you need to really tap into having faith. A leap of faith goes a long way. And learning how to embrace your mistakes, because if you don't embrace your mistakes, you're going to have a low self-esteem, low self-confidence, and not even have self-love for yourself. Because if you don't have self-love, who's going to support you? Who's going to notice that energetic, warm energy that you bring into a room? That's very important, that you have that kind of energy, because image and energy and confidence is very, very, very important in this industry.
Wow. And I think that everything that you have said, it just shows that you really have been through as much as you say, because you are a reflection exactly of someone that has walked a journey, has still is walking a journey, but still just remains in faith. Because I think also that's an important element for us to have an anchor. And for the most part, I think that so all of us, just as young professionals, it's something that we kind of just think of it as a far-fetched point of view. But like, I think that it's something that really holds ground when it comes to our consistency, and just for just the sake even of our continuity. But I also do want to speak a little bit about something that I know that most of us young professionals also struggle with when it comes to this space, or in any space rather, but like, speak a little bit about the importance of something that I've picked up so much in you, of humility. Because I mean, sometimes when we start to achieve a few things, when we know now that our company is now has an international footprint, now we are now we are in that space that we weren't in a few years ago, and that kind of like just comes to our head a little bit, and it kind of sticks there as a distraction. How do you deal with that noise?
Wow, you are raising another important question, I must say. So, humility is very important to me, because one thing that I have come to realize that, you can have money and do well in your career, but then you get home not being happy. So what's the point? So it's like, it's an imbalance of succeeding but not being happy. And that's not the kind of life that I would want for
Mm,
myself as a
mm,
mother, as a wife, and
yeah.
as a friend, but more especially as a professional or as a businesswoman.
Mm,
So I learned a whole lot of humility from my late father, who was the former assistant coach of Bafana Bafana. Yes, he was
mm,
successful. Yes,
mm,
he was well known. Yes, he knew his work, and he was
mm,
very proud of the man that he was in terms of his work,
mm,
and him being a black man in South Africa and being chosen as an assistant coach,
mm,
just
mm,
by the age of what, 41, 42 at that time, by the time he passed away in 2012. So that was a huge accomplishment for him.
mm,
And I
mm,
said, as his daughter, I could learn a lot from the time that he started football in
mm,
at the age of 16, and being an accomplished man that he
mm,
was by the
mm,
time at his tragic death. So I was
mm,
like, you know what? I will turn my tragedies and my painful
mm,
experiences into wisdom. And I needed to be really, really, really humble of
mm,
the young woman that I am, and I carried that kind of, humility throughout up until now. And I hope that
mm.
moving forward from today, I will carry myself with so much grace, with so much love, with so
Wow.
much warmth,
Wow.
because money, yes, I've been around money. My
Mm,
dad had money, and I'm not
mm,
bragging, but
mm,
what I'm saying is
mm,
that money is not everything. It's just a matter of your attitude
mm.
when you have everything and when you don't have nothing.
Wow. Melanie, you are such an inspiration. And
Oh,
just
thank
we're
you.
just gonna take a musical break once more, and then when we come back,
Okay.
we're going to close it off. But I'm really, really
Okay.
grateful that you pulled through. Thank you so much. Please stay on the line. 43 minutes after 4 o'clock. Welcome back to Radio 537. The name of the show is Eminence. It's your piece of rising ground. And Melanie, who is on the line with us today, is the reason why this show exists, man. It is to bring a light, to those people that are out there doing awesome things. And we are here to make sure that, you at home are impacted, by the lives of the people that we bring to the show. And we are so grateful. Melanie, are you still on the line?
Yes, I'm still there. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well. I just have
Mm.
a message for you, Melanie, from one of our listeners, and it reads as follows. It says, "Afternoon, V, and thank you so much for having Melanie on Eminence. She is such an inspiration and a success story at such a young age. May she continue inspiring other young women out there. Hashtag Happy Women's Month."
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I value such people, and I
Mm,
don't take it light, and I don't, you know, I don't take people as if like they don't have much to contribute, because
mm,
we thrive for them and we do good for them. So thank you
mm.
so much for everyone who's tuning in so
Wow,
far.
man.
So I appreciate the love, and
Mm.
yeah.
Wow, man, you are indeed an inspiration. And I remember that you were saying that you actually were surprised that, people notice your work all the way from Eastern Cape. Well, Melanie,
Yeah.
if people notice you on an international level, city, what do you think then?
You know what? You know what? You know what's really
Mm,
funny? Because I am, as you say that. You know what? I don't live in so much noise, and I really know how to prioritize my well-being and my health. And when I close off, and I just do my work, and I just focus. And when I'm focused, I focus on delivering resilience, quality work.
mm,
So yeah, I get to be closed off sometimes, but I don't aim to live in noise,
mm,
because it is
mm,
not healthy at all. So
mm.
yeah, I appreciate the love and the notice.
And you actually, as I was saying to you, you actually not only, just function well within, but you also just continue. You stay focused and you just continue to just, to do more incredible things. And with just that said, you also now currently also a co-founder is it Let's Talk Millennials. And
Yes,
for me, that's also another amazing platform that I'd like you to speak a little bit about before we let you go.
all right. So let's talk millennials was founded in 2019 after I left corporate in 2018
Mm-hmm.
because what I saw in corporate was absolutely disgusting, and I'm very blunt on that
Mm.
because I'm one person who's very fond and who's very, passionate about the work that I do. And
Mm.
unfortunately, I had to experience things that I didn't want to experience, but I
Mm.
understand now that I needed that kind of breakthrough or to go through that kind of experience in order to really help young people and people who are professionals, people who are in business, to really articulate the importance of what professionalism means in the
Mm.
world of business and in the world of the workplace, because there's so many things that are happening right now globally, as you can see in terms of how many types of assaults, sexual assaults,
Mm.
racism, and
Mm.
different kinds of things that people are going through in the
Mm.
workplace. So it is our responsibility as public relations practitioners to
Mm.
really build up awareness and teach, your CEOs, your managers, your
Mm.
employees on how to interact with stakeholders, how to interact with, brands, how to interact
Mm.
with your consumers. Because if you don't change with times, if you don't change with productivity and
Mm.
how people do things in terms of moving forward, then
Mm.
one brand remains behind, an organization remains behind, and
Mm.
then you see brands just, falling behind and closing down because of
Mm.
not willing to change with time, not willing to
Mm.
build awareness and just, re-strategize and rebrand. So the
Mm.
importance of awareness is very important. So with
Mm.
Let's Talk Millennial, it's an educational and professional company that I co-founded with my business partner who is female and who's
Mm.
27 years old as well,
Mm.
Tebogo Mogole.
Mhm.
And I said to her that, what, this is a kind of experience that, or the situation that I was going through at that time.
Mm.
And I would really not want to revenge, but really use that kind of hurtful experience
Mm.
as
Mm.
pivotal productive tool that will be able to develop,
Mm.
successful professionals and business
Mm.
owners out there who would really want to improve on their self-esteem, on their,
Mm.
confidence in how to manage and take control of a situation within a
Mm.
boardroom meeting,
Mm.
within an event. And, in terms of sometimes people get frightened when it comes to delivering
Mm.
presentations. So
Mm.
that's the kind of impact, like I said, I would want to build
Mm.
for business owners, for professionals
Mm.
who are really struggling in terms of battling, whether
Mm.
it's mental health or in terms of their well-being, because we get so much burnout from working 6 8 hours a day every single day without really taking care of ourselves. It's very important that
Mm.
we notice that we're putting so much work out there in terms of the global market, but it's sometimes you need to really give yourself a break and just
Mm.
credit yourself, because
Mm.
we don't credit ourselves out there.
Absolutely. Wow. That is amazing. And it's just, it's not even, it's not even a hidden truth anymore that, females, in professional spaces still go through, exploitation. They still go through, certain levels of abuse, and those are the things that
Mm,
shouldn't be there, especially, now that, women are actively, pursuing leadership roles and, just presenting themselves as professionals. I really think that, as much as, we go about our business and our work and everything that we're doing, but we also make sure, that we also always echo, the importance of just that basic respect, within that regard. And it's so beautiful, that you touch on this, as that you are actually using, your previous experience, whatever it is that you experienced, to actually make a difference and help other people, within that regard. And for me, that is everything. Melanie, before we let you go, I just want to give you an opportunity to say your last words and actually just, say goodbye to the listeners out there.
I just received a message that I'm seeing. I think this person is listening to this interview, and
Wow.
I if you're listening, I just saw your message and I really appreciate it, my love. So, to the listeners out there,
Yeah.
you know what? We live in uncertain times. We don't know
Mm,
what tomorrow holds. And I need each and every one of you to take care of your well being, to take care of your health, and to
mm,
really know that you are loved, you are noticed, even though
mm,
you might be going through a lot. But it is important that you credit yourself, even if it means that, you take, a mini break after if the world finds a pandemic for this
mm, mm,
virus, and just learn how to have a balanced life.
mm,
So, in terms of wanting to make it big, remain resilient, remain
mm,
patient, don't be
mm,
too hard on yourself. And what another thing that I want to stretch out, happiness is important.
mm,
Prioritize your happiness. If you
mm,
don't prioritize your happiness, you will never be happy in your workplace. You'll never be happy in your personal life, and you're going to be a miserable
mm,
person. So we don't want you, or I don't want you to be a miserable
mm,
person.
mm,
So this is my gratitude of love to you.
mm.
And I hope to connect with each and every one of you one day. Eastern Cape, I want to bring my project to the Eastern Cape because I believe that, the Eastern Cape and
Come on
Mpumalanga,
now.
Limpopo,
Absolutely.
you guys are talented, but I believe that if we can connect with
Mm,
each and every one
mm,
after the pandemic, if it's possible,
mm.
let's set a date and make things happen together.